The Supreme Court just gutted presidential power. For the first time in nearly a century, tariffs declared unconstitutional. Billions in chaos. And what the court said about executive authority could reshape Washington forever. This case started with a simple question. Can the President of the United States impose massive tariffs on foreign goods without congressional approval? For over 100 years, the answer seemed obvious. Presidents had broad authority over trade policy. But a coalition of importers and business groups challenged that assumption in federal court. They argued that the Constitution is crystal clear. Article 1, Section 8. Only Congress has the power to lay and collect duties. The executive branch, they claimed, had been operating outside the law for decades. And the Supreme Court agreed to hear the case. But here's what nobody expected. The court didn't just rule on this one tariff policy. They went further. Much further. And the implications are still being calculated. To understand why this ruling matters, you need to know what came before it. In 1974, Congress passed the Trade Act. It gave presidents authority to negotiate trade deals and impose certain tariffs to protect American industries. Then in 1977, Congress passed the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, EEPA. This law allowed presidents to regulate commerce during national emergencies. For decades, presidents from both parties used these laws to justify sweeping tariff policies. But there was always a question lurking beneath the surface. Did Congress actually intend to give away this much power? Or had the executive branch stretched these laws beyond recognition? If this is making you rethink what you knew about trade policy, hit that like button. Because what the court said next changes the entire game. But here's where it gets truly significant. The majority opinion, written by one of the court's most conservative justices, didn't mince words. Quote, Congress cannot delegate its core constitutional powers to the executive branch without clear and specific limits. End quote. Think about that for a second. The court is saying that even if Congress passed laws giving presidents tariff authority, those laws themselves might be unconstitutional. This is called the non-delegation doctrine. And it hasn't been seriously enforced since 1935. Legal scholars are calling this a constitutional earthquake. The court signaled that broad delegations of power, not just in trade, but potentially in environmental regulation, financial policy, and national security, could all face new scrutiny. And the dissenting justices issued a warning that sent shockwaves through Washington. The three dissenting justices argued that this ruling puts national security at risk. Their opinions cited historical examples where presidents needed to act fast. Trade wars, economic sanctions, protecting American industries from foreign dumping. They wrote that requiring congressional approval for every tariff decision would paralyze the government's ability to respond to economic threats. But the prosecution had one more witness. I mean, the majority had one more argument. They pointed to the text of the Constitution itself. The founders specifically gave Congress, not the president, control over trade. Why? Because they had just fought a revolution over unfair taxation. They wanted the people's representatives making these decisions, not a single executive. What the majority said next made the stakes of this ruling crystal clear. But, everything I just told you? That's just the setup. Here's what this ruling actually does right now. Billions of dollars in currently imposed tariffs are now in legal limbo. Companies that paid these tariffs are already filing for refunds. Foreign governments are recalculating their trade strategies. And Congress is facing a question it hasn't seriously considered in 50 years. Do they actually want the responsibility of setting tariff policy? Because if the court's logic holds, they have no choice. The Constitution requires it. Subscribe now, because what happens next could affect the price of everything you buy. The court gave Congress 180 days to pass new legislation explicitly authorizing any tariffs currently in effect. If Congress fails to act, those tariffs automatically expire. The countdown has already begun. And this is where the political chaos begins. Congressional leadership from both parties is scrambling. Some lawmakers want to pass a clean authorization bill, keeping existing tariffs in place. Others see this as an opportunity to completely reshape American trade policy. Progressive Democrats are calling for lower tariffs and more free trade. Populist Republicans want even higher tariffs on China and other competitors. The White House issued a statement calling the ruling judicial overreach and hinting at potential defiance. But legal experts say the president has very few options. The court's ruling was 6-3. It included justices he appointed. And the constitutional logic is difficult to argue with. The courtroom has gone silent on this question for nearly a century. Now, everyone is listening. But wait. There's more to this case that changes everything. The most explosive part of this ruling is what it means beyond trade. The court's reasoning about non-delegation applies to every federal agency. Environmental regulations issued by the EPA without specific congressional authorization. Financial rules from the SEC. Even pandemic emergency powers. All of it now faces the same constitutional question. Did Congress actually authorize this, or did the executive branch make it up? Legal challenges are already being prepared. Dozens of federal regulations could be struck down using this ruling as precedent. What happened in that courtroom wasn't just about tariffs. It was about the entire structure of the modern regulatory state. And whether the executive branch has been operating outside the Constitution for decades. The answer, according to 6 Supreme Court justices, is yes. Justice has been served. But the consequences are just beginning. So where does this leave us? The Supreme Court has fundamentally altered the balance of power between Congress and the President. Tariffs that affected billions in trade are now